Hey guys, welcome back to the Game Room. Today I've got something really awesome to show you. It is the upcoming Uncanny X-Men starter set for the next Dice Master expansion coming out in a few weeks, the Uncanny X-Men. Really excited to be able to show you guys this stuff. It's got a ton of new characters, new actions, a lot of new stuff in general. Let me break it out on the table. I'll show you all the different components, different cards, different dice, and then I'll give you my opinion at the end. Let's take a look. So here's the contents of the starter box. Let's go ahead and look at the boring stuff first. We have our 2 air sickness bags / the used dice bags, so I haven't really learned much there, but obviously cutting costs. We have all the new Sidekick dice, and from what I can tell, the printing on these looks much better than the original run. I didn't see any rubbing on these Sidekicks at all. So actually these might become my de facto Sidekicks if they look that solid. Up here we have new colors of action dice, which is not something I knew they would include here. I thought they'd be the same colors, so we have brown, pink, purple, and orange. So yeah, actually 3 of these are some of my favorite colors, pink, purple, and orange, so I want to definitely be using those. That's really awesome. And of course, the coup de grace here, the awesome stuff. We have all the characters, 2 dice for each. We got Angel, Cyclops, Iceman, Kitty Pryde, Juggernaut, Magneto, Quicksilver, and Wolverine, as well as a whole stack of new action cards that were not in the base game. So let's take a look at this up close. I'm going to focus on each of these individually. Let's look at those action cards first, and then we'll look at each of the characters. Alright, let's take a look at these action cards. We have Ambush, it's a 3-cost action. One of your characters gets +1 attack for each character your opponent has in the field. We have Enrage, another 3-cost. Choose a character. That character must attack at its next opportunity. Spin that character up 1 level if able. You also, Global, pay a lightning bolt to give one character +1 attack. We have Feedback. Deal 1 damage to your opponent for each of his characters that is knocked out for the rest of this turn. So that's a 3-cost basic action. Imprison, it's a 4-cost. This die captures any number of opposing characters that total filling cost of 2 or less. This effect lasts until canceled by your damage to your opponent, or canceled or you damage your opponent, excuse me. So they have to either cancel the action or you damage your opponent. So that's a really cool effect. There's not a lot of capturing in the game just yet. That's a really cool way for everyone to have a capture. We have Possession, 4-cost. At the start of your attack step, take control of an opposing character with a level lower than one of your characters. Attack with it. When it has the 2 burst symbol, instead take control of an opposing character with an equal or lower level. Another really solid one for taking control of other opposing characters. We have a 3-cost, Reckless Melee. It's deal 1 damage to each character. There you go, including yours. 1 burst, instead deal 1 damage to each player, and 2 burst, instead deal 1 damage to each player and each character. So that's really cool. We have Relentless. Spin this die to a generic energy side. Reroll a character or sidekick die from your reserve pool. Pay a mask for the global. Target character cannot block. So, interesting. That is actually a really cool effect. So you're essentially getting to use this action's effect without losing use of that action's mana cost. So that's actually really interesting. We have Selective Shield. Choose an energy type. Characters of that type cannot attack until your next turn. 2 burst. Also choose 1 character of that type. That character cannot block until your next turn. That's pretty solid. Global, pay a fist. Target blocked character deals no damage. Okay. We have a 3-cost, Take That Villain, deal 3 damage to a villain. 2 bursts, deal 1 extra damage to that villain. So, not that we really need a lot of anti-villain stuff, but that's interesting. Transfer Power, 3-cost, roll a character die from your used pile. If it rolls a character face, field it at no cost. Otherwise, place it in your bag. Wow. Pay a shield, swap the attack value of one of your characters with that of one opposing character. Okay, well, that's actually pretty interesting. Some really interesting effects, really usable stuff in there. I believe the capturing effect is pretty strong. I mean, you have to cancel it either by dealing damage to them or through them canceling the action, which there's not a ton of stuff that cancels actions just yet. At least not used ubiquitously. So that's some pretty interesting stuff. I think some really usable actions in there. So our first character up is going to be Angel. He has, his 3 levels are 022, 133, and 134, like his original dice from the AVX set. His first card is a 3-cost. When fielded, you may field a sidekick die from your used file, spin it to its character side. Fairly basic, he comes in with a sidekick. This second one is a 3-cost as well. When Angel attacks, your sidekicks get +1 attack and +1 defense. Wow, that's pretty solid as well, so it's obviously sidekick themed here. And a 3-cost with the first one with Heroic, which is a new ability. When fielded, Angel may pair up with a different heroic character until the start of your next turn. Once per turn, while Angel is paired up, you may pay 1 shield to give Angel and his partner +2 defense. So Heroic's just a new ability where you essentially pair those 2 up. They get an effect. Usually the other heroic character also gets an effect that they can use. It's a really interesting new ability, and yeah, so that's a really cool effect. So the original Angel was more about being unblockable or continuing to do damage even if he's blocked. This one's obviously got a little bit more of a sidekick tilt to him. Next up is Kitty Pryde. Let's take a look at her die first this time. So we have a clear blue with her busting through a brick wall there. She's got 3 levels. We have a 0-2-2, a 0-3-2, and a 1-3-3. So very cheap casting values or fielding values and decent attacking. Her first card here is just 2 with no text box, similar to Ghost Rider, but better because she's cheaper to field. So that's awesome. They took away the just a card with low values text, though. That's sad. We have a 3 cost here. Kitty Pryde cannot be blocked by sidekicks, so that's cool. She's got her ghost ability to go through walls. 4 cost. Kitty Pryde cannot be blocked on the turn she's fielded, so it doesn't matter if it's by sidekicks or not. So that's really cool too. And she has a global pay a mask. Target character cannot attack this turn unless its owner pays 1 life. So I'm not sure how useful the global on that is. It's interesting. It's kind of a taxing global, which isn't terrible. Distraction's a little bit better, obviously, for the same effect, essentially, but, you know, if you want them to lose life, that's pretty solid. I like the not being able to be blocked. She's very reminiscent, oddly enough, of Angel, which we just looked at, of the old Angel. I do like this 2 cost with just good stats, because in the original set, Ghost Rider was intended to be that 2-drop that people just played because he was 2 cost and cheap and didn't have any abilities, but his fielding cost was way too high. But in this case, we have 0-0-1, so that's a really great fielding cost. So Shadowcat should see some play. I like this one quite a bit. Next up, we have my least favorite character in all of X-Men, Cyclops. Let's take a look at this die here. Pretty standard. I like the color. It's pretty cool. I do like his standard blue and yellow a little bit better, so that original dice is a little bit more up my alley. But I do like there's a little bit of marbling on this dice that looks pretty solid. His casting cost 1 for a 4-2, 1 for a 5-3, 1 for a 6-4. Those are standard from his last set, so still really awesome fielding values. So we got his first one here, 6 cost. When fielded, Cyclops deals 3 damage to an opposing character. Your opponent may pay 3 life to prevent this. It's okay. It's solid removal. Your opponent being able to choose. I don't like giving my opponent the option to stop what I want to do, but it's solid removal, solid burn regardless. We got Cyclops Overlook here. When fielded, Cyclops deals 1 damage to your opponent and each opposing character. It's a nice, again, it seems to have a definite sidekick swarm tactic to get rid of those. It's a little expensive for that, but it's still pretty solid. I think Cyclops, with his fielding costs, it's always going to be expensive, at least 5 cost or higher. And then last we have Cyclops Superhero, 5 cost, like I was saying. Heroic, when fielded, Cyclops may pair up. We don't need to read that every time. When Cyclops is paired up, he and his partner deal 1 damage to the opponent when assigned to attack. So that's pretty solid. And again, kind of goes into what I was talking about with the heroic tactic thing, where you have 1 and 1, and each of them gets a heroic effect from pairing up. So I really like that effect. This one I don't like as much as the Angel effect, but still pretty solid. It's not bad. So overall, Cyclops, he's kind of in that not bad camp for me. Don't know if he's my favorite or worst, but the problem is, I think, is that I like using the Cyclops from the base set quite a bit. So I don't know if he'll actually replace him, but we'll see. I'm not sure on this one yet. Next up, we'll take a look at Wolverine here. We've got his dice, same as the first one, with blue and yellow instead of yellow and blue. I actually like this one much more than the original one. The colors really pop out. The other one looked a little too much like the Rogue dice for me. His cost is 1-5-2 with a burst, 2-6-3 with a burst, and 3-8-4 with a burst. And his card is, this one is Wolverine Best There Is, 5 cost. Wolverine deals double damage to characters that block him. Okie doke. 6 cost, not very nice. When Wolverine is blocked, you may pay 2 fists to have him deal damage equal to his attack to 1 character blocking him. This damage is resolved before the normal blocking damage or combat damage is assigned. Interesting. So it's kind of like a first strike in combat. He can just deal his damage, kill someone before they have a chance to hurt him back. So that's an interesting effect, kind of like a Nightcrawler's effect. Wolverine Superhero, 6 cost. He's a heroic and his heroic ability is, while Wolverine is paired up, he and his partner can only be blocked by 2 or more characters each, or 2 or more characters each. So that's actually a really solid heroic ability. That's evasion for both him and a partner. So if you pair him up with the right heroic partner, that can be a ton of damage. Because I mean, if he's on his 8-4 side, that's gnarly. So yeah, that's pretty solid. I don't know if I like any of these more than the rare or the super rare from the original set, but these definitely aren't bad. And the costs are a little higher, or not higher, but kind of high, but they're pretty strong. So I definitely like the dice better. So this is one I'm definitely gonna give a shot to. Next up, we got Iceman, and Iceman's dice. It's a nice translucent blue with white numbers. I like translucent dice quite a bit, so this one looks pretty cool. It actually, I think this is like a better version of the original Angel dice in the first set. I just like that blue a lot better. His casting cost is 1 for a 2/4, 1 for a 3/5, or excuse me, 3/6, and 1 for a 4/6. So really cheap fielding values for those numbers, actually. So the first is a 4 cost, and it's no text box, kind of like Shadowcat Kitty Pryde. Just a basic beater, I guess, there. 5 cost, and you may pay Lightning to give Iceman +1 attack and +1 defense. Pretty solid pumpable attacker. And our last one is Iceman, too cool for words, beautiful. 5 costs, once per turn you may pay Lightning Bolt to double Iceman's attack, and Global, pay 1 Lightning Bolt to spin any number of your sidekick dice to their lightning side. That Global, based on some stuff that I've seen in the set, Pyro and things like that, there's a lot of Lightning Bolt abilities that you can use in this set and in the last set. That Global could be really strong. I mean, the character itself is pretty solid. I like 1/1/1 across the board. It's an easy fielding cost, decent numbers for that. Iceman's definitely usable even at its basic card there with no text. The pumping one is okay, but I definitely like this Global. This Global is worth trying them out by itself. I could definitely see this having some strategy built around it. So yeah, Iceman's solid. Really like the dice, really like the effects, and definitely want to try that Global out with maybe Pyro or something like that. Next up, let's take a look at Quicksilver. Obviously, you got his trademark running symbol there. Sorry, I keep getting that a little too close. And he's got pretty solid values. We've got 0 for a 3/1, 1 for a 3/2, 1 for a 4/3, kind of reminiscent of Hawkeye there. His first cost, 3, it's Pietro Maximoff. I can't read today. When fielded, Quicksilver deals 1 damage to 1 opposing character. The 3 cost, that's not terrible. It's like a weaker version of Hawkeye. We have Quicksilver thanks to Isotope E, 4 cost. When fielded, Quicksilver deals 1 damage to each opposing sidekick. That is pretty solid. Now that I can get behind. Feels a lot like the old Caps that from the first set that can knock out a couple of sidekicks. This is a sidekick sweeper. I'm definitely gonna try this guy out. I mean, I don't know if I can really say anti-goblin tech or gobby tech, but that's definitely pretty solid. I like that one a lot. We have former villain Quicksilver, 4 cost. When Quicksilver is blocked, he deals 1 damage to each opposing character. So, a little more aggressive version of the original card. Not sure where I'd use this one instead of the thanks to Isotope E version of Quicksilver, honestly, just because that one just deals the damage when he comes into play. This is a little more, I guess this is more geared towards maybe knocking out the guy that's blocking you, or triggering the effect after they've gotten more characters out. But yeah, I like Quicksilver quite a bit. I like the stats. I'm always a big fan of cheap with higher attack than lower defense, and this effect specifically, I'm definitely down for. So next up we have Magneto. This one, again, a dice that I think is better in this set than in the last set. This clear purple lavender color, magento. We got Magneto, his classic stat, 144, 257, 368, so solid numbers, kind of expensive. We have 6 cost, Magneto Field Control. When fielded, you may pay Mask to remove a character from the field or reserve pool to its owner's prep area. That's fairly straightforward. You have to have a lot of energy to get that out there. You have to have at least 8 to be able to use them effectively. So that's the big downside, or not? Excuse me, not 8 to use them effectively. You're gonna have to have at least 3 energy to field them and use that effect. So if you're gonna cast them for his highest cost, you need to have at least 6 to use them effectively. But that's a strong effect, just being able to move something out without knocking it out, without triggering any other effects. That's really solid. We have Magneto Will to Live, 5 cost. If Magneto leaves the field, he goes to your prep area instead of your used pile or dice bag. That is nuts. That means, I mean, we're talking anything that removes him. So if your opponent tries to put him to your used pile, you don't. If you attempt to attack and they don't block him and he gets damaged through, he doesn't go to the used pile. He's going to go to your he's going to go back to your prep area. This is the beater that villains were really looking for. I think that's really awesome. We have Magneto Archvillain, 6 cost. If your Magneto has if your opponent, excuse me, has no villain dice in the field, no villains in the field, Magneto gets +3 attack and +3 defense. I like that. I mean, obviously villains isn't really an archetype yet. It might be in this upcoming set. There are definitely a lot more usable villains in this set. However, I'm not the biggest fan of just getting +3/+3 or just getting like pumps to your attack and defense if there's no way of guaranteeing that your damage is going to go through. So to me, it's good, it's okay, it's something that might be really fun to use, but it doesn't offer any additional effects, and that's where I kind of like lower its value a little bit. However, this Magneto Will to Live, I think the effect on field control is really strong if you can pay for it. Will to Live is just going to be always a decent effect because your opponent wants to either block it and keep it in the field. It doesn't want to let it through because you have a chance of getting it back, a high chance of getting it back, obviously. So yeah, Magneto's really awesome. Magneto's one of my favorite villains in general, so I'm really glad that he has some pretty good options just in the starter here. That's really cool. So last up we have Juggernaut, and his dice looks amazing. The orange and brown just looks really awesome to me. I love the character of Juggernaut. I say Magneto's one of my favorites. Juggernaut might be my favorite. He's one of my favorite villains. Got decent stats. 1 for a 5, or one really bashy stats actually. 1 for a 6/3, 2 for a 7/4, and 3 for a 7/6. So first up, it's Juggernaut Cain Marko. 6 cost. When Juggernaut takes damage, you may move any or all of your sidekicks to your used pile. Prevent up to 3 damage to the Juggernaut per sidekick move. So he's just kind of an unstoppable Juggernaut. He can't take damage as long as he has guys to pawn it off to. Ooh, a 7 cost. Juggernaut Unstoppable. Once per turn, you may move one of your sidekicks to your used pile to give Juggernaut +4 attack and +4 defense. Kind of the same complaints I have about the Magneto, but that's a really powerful boost there. I'll give him that. And we have 6 cost Juggernaut Archvillain. When fielded, if your opponent has no villains in the field, you may move one of your sidekicks to your used pile to deal 1 damage to your opponent and gain 1 life. So obviously the obvious theme here is Juggernaut is taking your sidekicks and doing things with them, using your sidekicks as additional resources, which is an interesting effect. I don't know how strong this is. I like his stats. He's a little expensive. I don't know if he's as, he doesn't have that unstoppable effect to just go straight through your opponent, just deal him damage and get rid of him. But still pretty decent. I don't know if I'll be using him too much in competitive, but he'll be a really fun casual card for me. And I like these Archvillain effects as well when their opponent doesn't have villains in play. So yeah, that is the hero cards and villain cards from the starter set and all the action cards. Let me jump to my opinion and we'll close this out. So guys, that's the Uncanny X-Men starter set. I still love these starter sets for Dice Masters. The fact that you can actually play 2 players decently out of this box is really awesome for 15 bucks. It's a really great deal. The dice, I think the printing looks a lot better in this set than the initial run of the Avengers vs. X-Men set when it first came out. The second run of that set since then has looked a lot better, but I think they've learned a lot from that first set and it looks really solid in here. I was surprised to see the new action dice colors. That's really cool. I think that adds a little bit more variety. I'm definitely going to be using purple and pink quite a bit. That's just a neat little touch that is cool that they put in here. So I hope that we keep getting more colors of action dice. It's small, but it's interesting. All the characters in here look beautiful. The dice look awesome, and there's a lot of really usable characters. I know that people may be upset about them reusing characters like Magneto and Wolverine, but they've given them new life to me. Like that Magneto. The Magnetos in these starters are really solid, really inexpensive, and actually aggressive villains, which is something the villains really needed. You have certain things that can be obvious counters to others, like the Quicksilver being a good sidekick counter, where Captain America kind of used to fill that role. You have other options for that now. A lot of cheaper aggressive guys like the Shadow Cats, where you have 0 costs for cheap guys, you have for fielding costs and things like that. The Iceman, he's a little more expensive, but all his fielding costs are 1, and he's just a pounder. So yeah, you got some new options. I like that they're mixing up the attack values a little bit more. It's not like 3/3, 4/4, 6/6, stuff like that. You're getting more leaning towards offense or leaning towards defense. So that's a good change. There's a lot of awesome changes here, a lot of cool global effects. The action cards are probably my favorite thing out of the set. Those actions are very unique, capturing permanently or semi-permanently. All those different effects that you're getting from the actions are really interesting, and I think that's going to be the most important thing that comes out of the start. I mean, the characters are always cool and awesome, but everybody can use action cards. It doesn't matter what your team is. You can always use those action cards. So the action cards, I think, add even more variety to the game. You're not going to see as much just distractions and gearing ups and things like that. Now you got a ton more to work with. I think this is a really awesome starter set. Obviously, 15 bucks for these I think it's a steal for these sets anyway. But this one in particular is really good. I think this one's actually a little bit more fun than the original set. I think the original set had some really good stuff in it, like Beast Mutate 666. Some of the storms were really good. and like the Hulk and things like that. But I think this has more fun stuff in it. Like you get cheaper guys like Shadowcat attacking, the Iceman. I think a really awesome Magneto. You get some actual cool villains in there. It feels almost like there is a good versus bad in this. You get Juggernaut, you get Quicksilver, you get Magneto. You actually get bad guys in this. So, guys, I highly recommend the Uncanny X-Men starter set. It is a really good value. This will be coming out fairly soon, hopefully within the next month or so, and I'm glad I got to show you guys this early. But that is not all. Yes, I've got an Uncanny X-Men display box here, the new style of display box that WizKids is using, and I'm doing an unboxing of it in the next video. If you click on this box here, the annotation here, it'll take you to that next video, and you can check out all the new dice, all the new cards that I get in this, and it's a lot of stuff. It is a lot of packs. So there's 90 packs in here. Of course, I will fast forward through most of it, but I will show you all the stuff that comes in it. So it's probably gonna be a little bit longer than normal. So if you're into it, definitely check it out because this is going to be really exciting. I'm really stoked for this one. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that review, and if you're interested, definitely click on that annotation for that next unboxing. I'm super pumped to do that. As always, guys, you can check out the links in the description below for our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and we have the subscribe button up there and down there. And you can share this video if you know someone who likes Dice Masters and wants to check out the new dice. It's a pretty good way of doing it. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time in the game room.